Do you know what you're worth? And I'm not talking about this spiritual, emotional sense. I'm talking about cold, hard cash. So many of us professionals don't really know what their time is worth. And we go beyond time, we go into hard costs of your business and what you should be making so you can pay Uncle Sam, take care of your kids, and save some money for a rainy day. I'm going to teach you these tips with this formula that I've learned, and hopefully you'll be able to make more money and change your financial future after this episode. Stay tuned. Welcome to The State of Happiness. I'm your host, Leslie Juvin-Acker, Chief Happiness Officer at Leslie Inc., where we provide solutions for finding happiness for stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed senior-level managers, executives, and entrepreneurs. The State of Happiness podcast offers you conversation, inspiration, and ideas for helping you increase your happiness in the areas of your personal relationships, your career, your abundance, and your emotional well-being. So come along with us on this episode, and we'll help you get the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to help you find your own state of happiness. It's 2:00 in the morning. You can't sleep. Your mind is racing, thinking about work, your career, and your future. How can I get a raise? Why is my boss being so difficult? What am I doing wrong? What's keeping you up at night? If you had the answers to these questions, what choices would you make? Thanks to Leslie Inc.'s Happiness Decks app, Career Edition, you can have the answers to these questions. In less than 60 seconds, you can gain essential perspective and insight to the questions that are keeping you up at night. Download it today. Leslie Inc.'s Happiness Decks app, available in the Apple Store and Google Play Store. Get the answers you need and feel good about tomorrow. Get exclusive news and invitations today at leslieinc.org/app. Get the answers you need with the Happiness Decks app by Leslie Inc. Know your worth. Find out how much you should be earning and actually make a profit. Being a freelancer or consultant is more than charging an hourly rate. Find out how to make money and feel good about asking clients to pay up. Know your worth and take the emotion out of negotiation. Consultant fees are often thought of as mystical numbers. Clients often balk at the cost of fees because they have a project that, quote, only takes a few minutes to do and can't understand why, quote, you charge so much. Instead of getting angry that potential clients and existing clients simply don't understand your talent, focus on the bottom line and let that drive your business decisions instead of the emotional knee-jerk reaction of wanting to eat and survive another day. Many consultants and solo entrepreneurs struggle to ask for money. In my book, The Money Formula, I explain that subconscious beliefs often block us from engaging in the behaviors that bring us financial success. Activities like budgeting, financial planning, and even sticking to a budget are difficult to do. Once you've taken a moment to understand why you may feel confused, triggered, or overwhelmed by the mere thought of charging clients for your work, take on the task to determine your consulting fees. Now, I'm going to tell you that this is just for more than consultants and subject matter experts or professionals. This could be for anybody, whether you're a contractor or you're an employee. You can take this math and use it to help you figure out your hourly rate. So, when you know your worth, you stop the struggle. I work regularly with professionals and subject matter experts who struggle to do two things. 1, find the right customer or employer, and 2, getting paid without losing money. The first is pure marketing and branding. And we've talked about that before through storytelling. But the second one is doing your numbers. Doing your numbers reveals two important truths. One, your ability to understand just what it takes to do your job. And two, your knowledge as to what it takes financially to live well and comfortably. Doing your numbers forces you to take a look at these truths. And they reveal fundamental mistakes in your management and decision making. Fixing these fundamental mistakes is easy with the technique that I'm about to teach you. Know your worth with this formula. I'm going to teach you a technique for calculating your cost of living and the cost to do your job. So, before I get into it, I want to give a grain of salt to and advice to employees. If you are an employee, the costs involved to support you so that you may do your job are paid for you. These costs could be employment taxes, benefits, healthcare, operation costs, even the light bulbs and the lamp on your desk. So when you do think of this, you should not include them in your own personal calculations when determining what you should be paid. Since somebody else is going to be paying those costs for you, you really should just be focusing on your living costs. So you should know how much it costs to employ you. Again, through employment taxes, benefits, operational costs, so that you know what your employer is paying for your opportunity just to show up to work and do your job. Employees often underestimate these costs and underappreciate their employers. Often, employees are resentful that they are paid, quote, so little, but forget that they assume no financial risk or legal liability to operate the business while on the clock and while they are off the clock. In essence, if you want more of the pie, assume more risk. With that said, it's time to help you figure out what is your worth. And we're going to start with your cost. So let's say there are 2,080 hours in a year, 52 weeks times 40 hours. There are roughly 1,880 working hours in a year when you subtract 10 national holidays, which is 80 hours, 2 weeks vacation, another 80 hours, and 1 week of sick time, which is 40 hours. So, with that said, considering those hours, I want you to go into step 1. Calculate your monthly personal cost of living and multiply it by 12. 12 being 12 months. I recommend including everything it takes to live as well as what it takes to save and invest money for your education and retirement. And these numbers vary from person to person, so someone might have $5,000 a month, some might have $20,000 a month. It just depends on your personal background. So I just put a general number, $11,000 per month times 12 equals $132,000. Now, if you're listening to this and you don't make anywhere near $11,000 a month, try living in California. You'll know how we feel. Because $11,000 isn't much if you're in California. But it is a lot to many, many people across the world. So at $11,000 a month times 12, it's $132,000. So I want you to go forward and multiply your annual sum by 1.23 for taxes. And when we multiply $132,000 times 1.23, we get $162,360. So we have to pay our taxes, of course. So we're going to include that in our actual income. So this is the $132,000 is after tax, but we have to add taxes on there. So we make sure we can pay all of our expenses and what we need to pay back to our state and Uncle Sam. So I put 1.23 just in case, but you can multiply at whatever number you want. So we got $162,360. And we have to divide this annual sum by our hours that we establish 1,880 hours. And so we get 162,360 divided by 1,880 equals $86.36 per hour. So now we've established that $86.36 is your base hourly rate. This rate will ensure that your family will have a roof over their head, clothes on their backs, and an opportunity for a brighter future. If someone is paying you to just show up and they assume all of the business operating costs, you'll need to make this amount on an hourly basis to assure that you're able to meet your own financial obligations. Now, with that said, we go to step 2. Calculate your monthly business burden and include those annual expenditures too. Like if you have a corporation, you'll have to pay your filing fees every year. And that's, for example, in California, my accountant called it this tax for the pleasure of doing business in California. So whatever taxes you might have to pay on an annual, add those as well. This obviously varies from business to business, so include everything it takes in terms of taxes based on your projected revenues for the month or months ahead. Insurance, labor costs, employer-paid taxes, savings for future investment in your business, supplies, rent, any overhead, and then tally them up into an annual expense. So, for this example, if you're a consultant or a small business owner, you may have a small operating budget. So let's say your annual operating costs are $24,000 per year. So $24,000 divided by 1,880, which is the amount of hours in a year that we can work, equals $12.77 per hour. So we go to step 3. To determine your minimum hourly rate to do the job so you don't lose money, you'll need $86.36 per hour, which is your cost and taxes, plus $12.77, which is what it takes to operate your business on an annual, and that equals $99.13. You will then calculate your projects or jobs on a case-by-case budget. So if you have a standard business and you're consulting or somebody comes to your office and it's pretty straightforward and really none of your time or expenditures really change, then you can generally say, if you're a therapist or if you're a coach or you give advice, then this pretty much will stay the same. But if your project costs, like for example, you're a landscaper and you have to get $10,000 worth of stone, you obviously have to include that in the job. So your projects will change on a case by case, but if you are an individual practitioner or you're doing coaching, for example, then your operating expenses will stay the same and your hourly rate will stay the same. Now, let's go forward. Step 4. This is important because research is key to this next step. What I want you to do is to research the market rate for someone in your field. You discover that you may be over market rate because of your operating costs being too high, or perhaps that a bigger business is beating you with operating costs because they're operating at scale, meaning that they can order supplies in bulk so they get them cheaper, where you may be a boutique company and you have to pay a little bit more of a premium for smaller batch orders. So that's something to consider. Or perhaps your cost of living is too high, like here in California, and you need to reduce your costs. So there are many people who determine that they can't make enough money to live in a certain place or pay a certain rent in a neighborhood, and you have to live in a different neighborhood to cut down your costs. So doing this research, going, okay, if I need to make $99.13 an hour, and let's just say I'm at the beginning of my career and I really don't have much expertise. I don't have an office and I don't have good branding and I don't have testimonials. You're probably not going to meet the fact that maybe somebody else with 10 years experience is charging the exact same rate and has a bunch of experience or testimonials that can really back them up and sell them. So you have to know where you fit in the market to make sure that you're actually commanding the appropriate amount for your hourly rate for the expertise that you're offering. So it's very important that you see that you are in the market for that. I want to give you a quick resource if you want to find out where you rank in terms of your labor category. There's two websites. One is salary.com and the other one is onetonline.org. That's salary.com and onetonline.org, and you can figure out, is my hourly rate and my job description on par for the market and in my location, or is it not? So you may find that you're right on the market, or maybe that you're actually under market price, which puts you at a price advantage. If you can keep your costs low and you provide the same value, if not more, than your competitors, you're always going to win the business. But there's a side question. Am I in the wrong business? You may discover that your numbers just don't add up. Maybe your cost of living and business expenses do not match what the market is willing to pay for your work. Then you have two options. One, pivot what you have into a higher paying specialty or job. Maybe if you're, let's just say, a coach, and there's a ton of business coaches out there, but maybe there isn't in your neighborhood many sex coaches. Let's think of Dr. Michelle Dexter from a previous episode. Well, this example of Dr. Michelle Dexter being a sex coach, she might actually be able to make more money. So if you figure out, wow, I'm a business coach, maybe being a sex coach is better, or maybe specializing in one aspect of the business can give me a better price advantage, a value advantage for the price. So think about that. Two, you can temporarily reduce your expenditures to match market rate so you're not operating at a loss. And in the meanwhile, look for ways to increase your competitive advantage. That being said, you could find additional certifications, education, training, or even move to a location or align with a market with the demand. There are some industries like mine in career coaching where there's not a lot of demand in San Diego, where in San Francisco there's a lot of technology companies that are looking for career experts to go in-house. So I would not have as much luck in San Diego if I wanted to go in-house, but I would have a lot more luck in San Francisco. So if you have to find some ways, you got to really think about maneuvering to really position yourself to get what you need. Now, step 5, determine your profit margin. Once you have determined a market rate, you can determine what your profit margin is. You might find that your costs have squeezed out any margin of profit. You'll have to look for ways to reduce costs or increase market value in relation to your competitors. That being said, simply, you might have such high cost of living that everything that you're asking for is just basically to pay for your ability to live, and you're not able to make much more money than that. And that means that you might have to change your business model, your offering, or become even more valuable in relation to your competitors. Now, maybe your costs are on point and you have margin for profit. You can decide with testing how much profit you can gain without turning off your clients. And depending on how much value offering and demand you're faced with, you can get away with charging extra for convenience. So if you're really good at what you do and it's so rare, then you could probably charge double than what somebody else is asking for, simply because you have a very specific expertise, access to knowledge, access to people that people are willing to pay the big bucks for. So think of those things that can give you an extra advantage and make sure you market those things that will justify increasing your profit margin. Number 6, know your worth and never lose money. Remember, your profit margin is always negotiable, but hard costs are not. When you know your worth, nobody can talk you out of getting what you need to be financially free. When you know your worth, you will align yourself with clients and customers who appreciate what you have to offer and will respect your fees. Yes, I have had cheap clients. I have had clients who have tried to guilt me into charging less. I have had clients who tried underhanded ways to break my policies. I have made a lot of mistakes in charging the appropriate fees that will help me be successful financially. My main problem was that I didn't know my worth, but you don't have to if you know your worth by applying this formula I've given you today. Above anything else you do, knowing your numbers is your business. Knowing your worth is not the job of your clients or your employers. There are employers and clients out there who will try to squeeze you out of profit. They will make you feel like you're replaceable or not as good as you know yourself to be. You must prepare yourself to meet complaints and hardball negotiations with hard costs. On the other hand, you may find that you are indeed incompetent, unprepared, or simply unqualified to offer the value that your cost of living commands. This is not at all a bad thing. It just means you have to make temporary adjustments to your expectations and your financial reality while you make efforts to improve your value offering in relation to your costs. In fact, smart businessmen and women will do what it takes to keep their business going. They are not attached to comforts and ego displays of wealth that often cause financial undoing in those who fail to adjust. There is no shame in having to make temporary cutbacks. In doing so, you're simply relieving pressure from yourself so you can afford to make changes and pivot to new opportunities. So do you know your worth? Try this formula to see if you're charging what you're worth. Discover if you are losing money because you don't know your worth. Not knowing your numbers is a big problem with a simple solution. So take 30 minutes to sit down and do your calculations. I want to share one moment is acknowledgement to Cheryl Brown. She consults San Diego business owners for free to become government contractors. She helps business owners make winning contract proposals without having to lose money in the process. So I want to say a special thanks to Cheryl Brown for teaching me this formula and for helping to get over $50 million of government contracts to hardworking Americans across this country, starting with San Diego. So thanks, Cheryl. I hope this formula will help you determine and know your worth, because I believe that you are worthy of success on all levels, financial, emotional, spiritual, and I want you to have those creature comforts. But know that the most important thing is something to be enthusiastic about, and it's yourself and your future. I would love to hear what you happy campers think about this formula. Do you have a better formula? Do you have tips that you could share with me and other happy campers? Please leave them in the show notes. And if you're listening and you go, Leslie, I really love this, but I visually need an example of it, you can go to our show notes on our website at leslieinc.org/happiness podcast. And I basically will have the entire podcast transcribed, and you can see me work through those numbers, and you can get a visual example for yourself, because I know that there are some visual learners out there in the happy camper community. Thank you again so much for tuning into this special episode of The State of Happiness. I'd love to hear your feedback, so please let me know on all social media channels, Facebook and Instagram, as well as Twitter too. You can always send me an email as well at hello@leslieinc.org. Thanks for tuning in today, happy campers, and remember, a smile goes a long way. Let me ask you a question. When you pay bills, do you feel stressed? Do you argue about money with your partner? And does the thought of your financial future feel out of reach? Well, here are some facts. Women are graduating college in record numbers. We control 80% of consumer spending and 60% of our nation's wealth. And yet, as women, our relationship with money feels out of control. But this doesn't have to be our story. We can rewrite it and we can do it together. That's why I'm personally inviting you to join the Women's Financial Freedom Tour. Change the way you think and feel about money. Meet other like-minded women who share similar experiences and get advice and tools from financial experts and entrepreneurs who can help you make your next best financial decision. Allow me to show you my formula that helps us women change our beliefs about money, breaking through the barriers, setting you free to financial freedom. You can start right now by becoming a community organizer. Sign up at leslieinc.org/freedom tour. Join me and other women as we take back our financial futures with the Women's Financial Freedom Tour. A many thanks to you, happy campers, for joining us today on this episode of The State of Happiness. If you'd like to continue the conversation, you can join me at Twitter at Leslie Juvin, as well as follow at Leslie Inc. on Instagram, and talk with us at Facebook at Official Leslie Inc. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to leave us a rating and subscribe and share with a friend. As always, thanks for joining us, and remember, a smile goes a long way.